Archiving history. Let's explore.
The year is 1941, and the world is at war. The Nazis have swept through Europe, and it seems as though nothing can stop their iron grip on the continent. Yet, behind the scenes of this dark chapter in history, there is one woman whose courage and resourcefulness would disrupt the Nazi war machine in ways they never saw coming. Her name was Virginia Hall. Born in 1906 in Baltimore, Maryland, Hall's story begins not with a gun or a spy's toolkit, but with a passion for adventure. As a young woman, she was drawn to the idea of exploring the world, eager to experience life in its fullest. But what she didn't know was that her travels would set the stage for her future as one of the most daring spies of the 20th century. Virginia's career began with a series of bold steps, each more audacious than the last. She spent time in Europe, learning languages and immersing herself in foreign cultures. But what truly set her apart was her unshakable resolve. She wasn't just looking for adventure, she was looking to make a difference. That resolve was tested in 1933 when a hunting accident changed her life forever. While in Turkey, a misfire from her shotgun shattered her left leg, leading to a devastating amputation below the knee. For many, such a loss would have been a career-ending setback, but not for Virginia Hall. She adapted, learned to walk with a prosthetic leg, one she wryly nicknamed Cuthbert, and refused to let it slow her down. The experience only strengthened her determination, proving that no obstacle, not even the loss of a limb, would stand between her and her ambition. When World War II erupted, Hall's trajectory took an unexpected turn. She was recruited by the Special Operations Executive, the British covert organization designed to stir up resistance behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied Europe. Virginia was the perfect candidate, fluent in French and German with a keen mind and an unyielding sense of purpose. She was poised to become a formidable force against the Axis powers. But Virginia Hall wasn't just another spy in the field, she was a force of nature. A woman with unparalleled determination and audacity. Her first mission in 1941 would take her to Vichy, France, where she was tasked with coordinating the French resistance. She wasn't just a strategist, she was a leader who guided, trained, and empowered the brave men and women who would rise up against their Nazi oppressors. And rise they did. Hall's work in Vichy was nothing short of legendary. She trained local resistance fighters to carry out acts of sabotage, disrupt supply chains, and strike fear into the hearts of the German occupiers. But her actions were also daring. Under her guidance, the French resistance carried out various train derailments and attacks on key German supply lines. These efforts were part of a larger strategy to disrupt Nazi logistics and prevent reinforcements from reaching the front lines. While Hall often orchestrated these operations from behind the scenes, her leadership and strategic direction were crucial to their success. These sabotage missions were a notable tactic that would prove highly effective in crippling Nazi supply routes. The resistance, armed with Hall's training and strategies, tore through the French countryside, derailing trains with precision, making their mark on Nazi infrastructure and altering the course of the war in subtle but powerful ways. Virginia's impact didn't stop there. The following year, tragedy struck. While in France, Hall was ambushed by a German patrol and was forced to flee. The Nazis had, at long last, identified the Limping Lady. She was no longer safe in the country that had once been her home. The enemy was closing in, and Hall was forced into hiding. But even in the face of danger, she remained undeterred. With no clear path to safety, she made a harrowing decision. She would escape on foot, crossing the snow-covered Pyrenees into Spain. First, she took a train to Perpignan, the last stop before the border. From there, with the help of a guide, she began the brutal trek through the mountains. The journey was grueling for any person, but for Virginia, it was even more perilous. Her prosthetic leg made every step agonizing as she climbed through treacherous mountain passes in the dead of winter. The conditions were unforgiving. Bitter winds cut through layers of clothing, and each breath burned in the frigid air. Snow and ice covered the narrow trails. making every step a potential disaster. One misstep could send her tumbling into a ravine, and there was no room for weakness. The journey stretched over 50 miles, climbing to an altitude of 7,500 feet, and took 2 days of relentless marching. Sleep was impossible. Hunger gnawed at her insides, but stopping meant freezing. In a message sent ahead to her handlers, she said, "Cuthbert is giving me trouble, but I can cope." It was a simple statement, but it spoke volumes about her character. Pain was irrelevant. Failure was not an option. After days of navigating the mountains, exhausted and frostbitten, she finally made it to Spain, alive. But her ordeal wasn't over. At a train station, Spanish authorities spotted her and, unaware of who she was, arrested her for illegally crossing the border. Weakened from her journey and without the proper documents, she was thrown into a Spanish prison. For weeks she languished behind bars, her fate uncertain. Yet her mission was not quite done. Just when it seemed the war had forced her into the shadows, Virginia Hall re-emerged with even greater resolve. In 1944, after months in hiding, Hall returned to France once again, this time with the Office of Strategic Services, the forerunner of the CIA. Her new mission was of the utmost importance: to help prepare for the D-Day invasion and to coordinate the activities of the French resistance in support of the Allied forces. By now, Virginia Hall had already established a reputation as a woman of incredible resourcefulness. The Gestapo had a file on her that read, "The most dangerous of all Allied spies." The Nazis feared her because she was relentless. No matter how many times they closed in, she always found a way to slip through their grasp. Her second stint in France marked a new phase in her career, one of more strategic influence. But it was also a time when the stakes were higher than ever. She coordinated not just sabotage missions, but also acts of terror and disruption against the Germans. Train derailments were once again a key tactic. Hall knew that if the Allies were going to successfully land on Normandy's beaches, the Germans had to be crippled beforehand. Her resistance fighters, under her leadership, carried out sabotage operations on a massive scale. These train derailments were coordinated with deadly precision, crippling German transportation and making it nearly impossible for the Nazis to move reinforcements or supplies. Virginia Hall's tactics were a critical part of the D-Day preparations, and the success of the Allied invasion was, in no small part, due to her efforts. Hall's presence in France was a thorn in the side of the Nazis, and by the time D-Day arrived, they were frantically searching for her, but she had once again slipped through their fingers. For years after the war, Virginia Hall remained a hidden figure. Despite her immense contributions to the Allied victory, she was often overshadowed by the male-dominated narrative of espionage. In 1947, she joined the newly formed Central Intelligence Agency, becoming one of its first female operatives. She specialized in covert operations within the Special Activities Division, focusing on resistance groups in Iron Curtain countries during the Cold War. Her expertise in clandestine work and deep understanding of resistance networks made her an invaluable asset. Hall's work at the CIA mirrored the same determination she had shown during the war, though she often faced systemic barriers in the male-dominated agency. Despite her field experience surpassing that of many of her male counterparts, she was frequently sidelined from high-profile operations. Nevertheless, she persisted, contributing intelligence and training to anti-communist resistance movements. She remained with the CIA until her mandatory retirement in 1966, having spent nearly 2 decades in the shadows of Cold War espionage. It wasn't until much later that her remarkable contributions were fully recognized. Even now, her story is one of both triumph and tragedy, a tale of a woman who defied expectations, changed the course of history, and yet, for too long, remained in the margins of official records. Hall's extraordinary service was eventually rewarded through numerous honors and accolades. She was awarded the French Croix de Guerre for her bravery in the face of danger and exceptional contributions to the resistance. The United States Army recognized her efforts with the Distinguished Service Cross, one of the highest military honors. Additionally, she was made an honorary member of the Order of the British Empire for her outstanding work during the war, a testament to her pivotal role in dismantling the Nazi regime. In her later years, Virginia Hall lived quietly, away from the spotlight that had eluded her throughout her life. She passed away on July 8, 1982, in Rockville, Maryland, at the age of 76. Despite the monumental nature of her contributions, Hall never sought fame or recognition, preferring instead to remain in the background. She proved that greatness doesn't always come with recognition, and that true impact is often made in the shadows. Her name, though long whispered in the corridors of history, now stands as a testament to the quiet strength that reshaped the world. Would you like to learn more? Check out our website and subscribe at archivinghistory.com.